Okay, so I'm working on a 2017 Ford F-150, and this is an EcoBoost 3.5 liter. I'm pretty sure it's a 3.5 liter. Let me look real quick. Really, that part's irrelevant. Yeah, it's a 3.5 liter EcoBoost, and this guy says intermittently this thing won't crank, or he could be in an intersection and it'll just die. Some very, very important things to look at. I'm going to cover one SSM in particular. This SSM is 48563. And it says vehicle may exhibit a no crank, no start, auto start stop inoperative, illuminated malfunction indicator lamp, powertrain, so engine lamp, transmission shift concerns. Then there are some DTCs that can be associated: P016A, U0140, U0401, U0101, U0074, and or U0037 being set in the powertrain control module, transmission control module, instrument panel cluster, steering control module. This may be due to the 15525 transmission wire harness not being properly secured. Visually inspect the harness for possible damage and a proper routing at the rear of the engine down to the transmission. Repair as necessary. If no concern is found, proceed with normal diagnosis. So the first thing I want to do is I want to come down here to the frame rail, and I see there's a body ground here. It's really corroded. It needs to be pulled apart and cleaned, and it goes up to the body. So we got body to chassis ground is kind of rough. And we look up here at this ground going into this harness for this TCM. It's really rough. And that ground is nice and rotten and corroded. So I'm going to start here and clean all this up, and then move my way up through the center and see what everything else looks like. There's one ground right there. You can see how bad that is. Terrible. It's almost making no contact at all. So we're going to clean that up there, and we're going to clean that up there on the body. We're going to start with that one first. We'll put it all back together. I'm going to take a wire wheel and clean that whole entire surface where it mounts to as well. Okay, there's the mounting spot eyelet. I just took it completely off. Pulled the little push clip right there out, and then there's the top with it cleaned out. Now I'm going to put a little dielectric grease between the two and bolt it back up. Now you can take a screwdriver and just pop these clips off this cover, but anyway, these just pop right off of there. So now what I'll do is I'll clean this ground off right here. I'll have to use just clean it off real good, and I'll pull this connector and stuff off this module here, and I'll make sure all that's clean as well. This connector, this is where they were saying they have some of the issues with the connection. Man, this is crazy. You could see all the junk falling out of this as you can see it's making terrible connection. Yeah, that was barely making any kind of connection right there. You could see all the rust in between where this was at, where it was mounted, the paint on it. That wouldn't make no connection. No wonder why. Look at all the junk and rust and crud all over this thing. So there it is, cleaned up and remounted. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little bonus tip. After I get everything cleaned up and remounted, I decided to leave the dielectric grease out this time.
What's going on, Purple?
So I pulled the connector off for the control module here, cleaned it all out with some electrical cleaner that you can get at the parts store, and then took some electrical grease. I specify electrical grease, not just regular dielectric grease, but electrical grease. It's thinner. I get this stuff, we get this from Ford. It's made for connections and stuff. That's electrical grease. Where's the number at? Right there. XG12 is what it's called. This is the stuff we use on connectors and things. So the bonus is, after I get everything mounted, I'll take some silicone and rub on the outside surface and reseal everything, so now moisture can't get to those grounds anymore. You see it there, up there I did it, up there on the bottom of the body I did it. and I'll let those dry, and then I'll drive this vehicle and see if it acts up after all of this. Okay, so now looking on the inside of the frame, you can see how that harness comes up over the frame, and then it goes right here, and it tucks back up in there. It goes to the back of the transmission right there, that connector, and then if you look up top even further, you can see it splits off and goes to the front. It goes up in this connector, right? There's a connector you can see just barely right up above, right there. There's a connector, and then it goes up there to the PCM, and it all connects up there. So I'm willing to gamble on those 3 ground spots alone is what was causing the problem for this, and not the connections in those plastic connectors underneath. If the problem continues, I'll go ahead and pull those connectors apart and clean them and put them back together, but I almost guarantee you those grounds were the issue. And again, I specify those grounds, meaning that one right there, this one right here, and then this one up here. I almost guarantee that was the problem with this thing. So now let's drive it and see what happens.